We live in a world where undernutrition and obesity can exist side by side in the same country, home, or even person. Foods high in sugars, salt, and/or unhealthy fats are leading to unhealthy diets and are one reason why children may not be growing healthily, while causing other people to develop overweight or obesity. The consumption of unhealthy diets is heavily influenced by marketing. Easy access is fueling this new nutrition reality, but thankfully, change towards a healthier future is possible. By having a sustainable healthy diet made up of a variety of foods that are safe for consumption, we can promote health and have better abilities to fight illness. How do we do this? Good nutrition for women during pregnancy and for children in their first 1,000 days of life, including breastfeeding, sets them up for healthy adulthood and future generations. We should eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, pulses, nuts and seeds, and less sugary drinks and foods high in sugars, salt and unhealthy fats. The less of these foods we buy, the more the food industry will be encouraged to produce foods that contribute to healthy diets. We can also call on our leaders to make the right decisions so that every person, everywhere, can afford and access good nutrition. When people like you and me, industries and governments work together to make positive changes, we can create a healthier world.
Essential nutrients are components in food that your body can't make on its own and that we need to grow, function, and stay healthy, so we must get these nutrients through our diets. There are 6 classes of essential nutrients. Carbohydrates are the main source of calories or energy in the diet. Fats also give us energy and help with normal growth and development, immune function, vitamin absorption, hormone production, and more. Proteins and the amino acids they are made of are major structural components of our body's cells and are responsible for building and repair of tissues and maintenance of muscle and lean body mass. There are 13 essential vitamins which have important jobs such as keeping our nerves healthy, helping us resist infection, assisting with blood clotting, and keeping our metabolism running. Minerals are only needed in small amounts but play a vital role in muscle contraction, fluid balance, food digestion, bone building, blood pressure regulation, and more. Water is also an essential nutrient that delivers other nutrients to cells, regulates the body temperature, acts as a shock absorber and lubricant, and helps in the removal of waste from the body. Bioactive compounds are not considered essential because they haven't been shown to lead to deficiencies if they're missing in the diet. However, they may positively impact health. Bioactives are a big part of nutrition research as scientists are trying to better understand and unlock their potential health benefits. Bioactives that you have likely heard of are carotenoids. These colorful plant pigments found in bright red, yellow, and orange fruits and vegetables act as powerful antioxidants and may help prevent some types of cancer and heart disease, reduce the risk of eye disease, enhance the immune system, and more. Resveratrol is another bioactive found in the skin of grapes, blueberries, raspberries, and mulberries that may reduce the risk of heart disease. Flavonols are a part of the flavonoid family that are found in tea, red wine, and cocoa and may positively influence our cardiovascular health. Phytosterols are steroid compounds in plants that may lower cholesterol and improve cardiovascular health. Phytoestrogens, found in many plants including soy and other legumes, are also being studied for their potential in reducing the risk of breast cancer. Healthy eating is important at every age, but the amount of nutrients we need and our body's ability to process them can change over time and depend on your personal health status. As you age, you may need more vitamin D and calcium for bone health, more B12 for brain and blood health, and more fiber for a healthy digestive system. Some people may also need more water as their sense of thirst declines. Your medical conditions or the medications you take may also require you to adjust your diet. It's important to talk with your healthcare team when deciding the best nutrition plan for you, but most people can get the healthy nutrients they need from a well-rounded diet of nutrient-rich fruits and vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains, such as those recommended in the U.S. dietary guidelines. Some people with deficiencies, certain diseases and conditions, or with evolving nutritional needs at different stages of life may consider dietary supplements to add missing nutrition to their diets. Supplements include vitamins, minerals, herbals and botanicals, amino acids, enzymes, and bioactives. You may be one of the many adults that takes a dietary supplement of some kind, but do you know enough about what is safe and what you can trust? Too often what's popular one day seems to make headlines the next for being unsafe. The Food and Drug Administration that regulates the safety and effectiveness of our drugs and medical devices also regulates dietary supplements. But supplements are not regulated as strictly as drugs because they have been considered to be more like food than drugs. Herbals and botanicals. For example, amino acids, companies don't need to get approval before producing or selling their supplements and don't have to provide evidence to support their claims about the product before marketing them. There are many safe dietary supplement options out there that can keep you healthy and even improve your health, but there are others that may not be safe for you. This makes being an informed consumer important. When choosing a supplement, talk to your healthcare team about all the prescription and OTC medications you are taking and all of the supplements. They can advise you on their safety as well as how they might interact with your medications. Avoid megadoses of supplements, which may be more than your body needs and even cause you harm. Keep in mind that the term natural doesn't always mean safe. And watch out for claims that seem too good to be true. When searching for information online, turn to trusted sources. Look for authors who are academics, experts in the field, government agency employees, and well-respected members of the medical community. Also look to see if the claims come from studies that have been reviewed by other experts in the field. If you still have questions, ask someone from your healthcare team or visit the Office of Dietary Supplements at the National Institutes of Health. To learn more about what scientists are discovering about the role of nutrition in cardiovascular health, watch Heart Healthy Aging with Nutrition at www.agingresearch.org/nutrition.
Has science conclusively proven you
.agingresearch.org/nutrition.
But it is finding evidence suggesting that what you eat may help determine how you feel. Susan Spencer reports our cover story.
Let's see what else you got. So this is shot from Japan. And
Globe-trotting photographer Dave Krugman feels at home no matter where he is in the world.
this is in Taiwan, actually.
Taiwan. You always take your camera with you.
Yeah.
But he hasn't always felt comfortable.
.agingresearch.org/nutrition.
You've had issues with depression?
Yeah, in my life I have.
Even as he was building an Instagram following of about 300,000.
It wasn't matching up with the way I was feeling about life, which was like that I wasn't enjoying my day-to-day life, really. I wasn't.
He tried therapy, then antidepressants, and finally ended up with an unconventional psychiatrist who posed an unconventional question.
Did he ask you specifically what you ate?
Yes.
What do you eat for breakfast, lunch, dinner?
Yeah, we definitely went through it.
And thinking about what he put in his mouth really opened his eyes.
It made me realize I would just eat whatever popped into my head at that moment.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'll go get some ramen. That sounds great. And
Chocolate cake.
Yeah, chocolate cake.
What's the matter with that?
Food is medicine. Food is brain medicine.
Psychiatrist Drew Ramsey is Dave's doctor.
In your everyday life, the number one factor that you have control over in terms of your mental health, it's at the end of your fork.
His specialty is the daily special and how it affects your mind. Dr. Ramsey calls this growing new field nutritional psychiatry.
Do you treat food as you would a drug and say, this is your prescription for anchovies? And how does it work?
All of my patients have a sense of foods that I want them to be eating more of.
Those foods, you guessed it, the Mediterranean diet. Colorful vegetables, seafood, olive oil, and lots of leafy greens.
We have some sautéed kale here.
That's Samantha Elkreef, a trained chef who works with Dr. Ramsey.
Now, this is probably my favorite brain food on the table because these are purple sweet potatoes.
Together, they showed us how to make Thanksgiving better for your brain. Oysters, anyone?
Well, Susan, someday maybe you'll like the oyster.
I thought you were going to give that to me.
No. A lot of people don't like oysters.
Right.
They're these raw, slimy, scary things
Right.
that maybe make you sick if you don't eat it in the right
Exactly.
month. Food fear.
Would you ever sit down and eat a cheeseburger and fries?
Well, I wouldn't eat a cheeseburger because I don't really eat that much meat and I don't eat dairy, but I would eat like a salmon burger with collard green wrap or something like that.
Have that all the time. Yeah. One of my staples.
Unlike cheeseburgers, Dr. Ramsey says oysters have unique nutrients, making them one of the best foods for depression.
Why can't I get these same nutrients out of a multivitamin?
First of all, oyster date night is incredible, and salmon date night is incredible, and fish oil and supplement date night has never really been much fun for me. There's an idea that people have that we can just take supplements and be healthy, and that's simply not true.
What can you say conclusively about the impact of food on depression?
Very conclusively, food impacts your risk of getting depressed.
And some recent research seems to back that up. In one study of people diagnosed with depression, a brain-healthy diet added to standard treatment relieved all symptoms in about a third of the patients. As for criticism that the science still is inconclusive,
the evidence has really just started. We've not had any randomized clinical trials about food in the treatment of mental health until 18 months ago. So this is very new.
Given all the emphasis on food, what role do you see for antidepressants?
Antidepressants are a great treatment for depression.
You see the two as complementing one another.
The two complement each other perfectly. This one for sure.
while the doctor writes the prescriptions, the chef makes the house calls.
Do you ever go so far as to physically take patients to the grocery store and say, this, not this, this?
Absolutely. I go to their homes and cook with them.
If you still find this whole brain food thing hard to swallow, neuroscientist Lisa Mosconi at New York City's Weill Cornell Medical College says the proof is in the pictures.
When you look at a brain scan of somebody who has, say, the Mediterranean diet and somebody else who doesn't, can you look at that brain scan and literally see a difference?
Very often, yes. And this is a very healthy looking brain.
The brain on the left belongs to a woman on the Mediterranean diet. The other one to a woman who eats standard Western fare, high fat, high carbs. It shows actual shrinkage with likely cognitive decline, Mosconi says, and she blames our lousy American diet.
You tell me yes or no if somebody who's thinking about their brain health would eat the following.
Okay.
French fries.
No.
Ice cream.
No.
Bacon.
No.
Ooh, that was painful. Fruit Loops.
No.
Don't laugh. Pop-Tarts.
No.
Pizza.
No.
How about anchovies?
Yes.
Oh, good. Yeah, it is amazing that I'm here.
Except for those anchovies, that's mostly stuff Dave Krugman won't go near today.
Waking up, having like eggs and some avocado, I definitely just have more energy throughout the day.
What about antidepressants? Are you still taking them?
No, I'm not taking medication for depression right now.
Your medication is breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. My medication is very good Italian olive oil.
What can you make your family for dinner that's healthy and tastes good? You can follow the plate method. This healthy eating plan works for everybody, including people with diabetes. Indeed, making nutritious, healthy meals will be a snap. What's a healthy plate? It's a way to control your serving sizes where you don't have to count. Simply use a 7-inch plate for children and a 9-inch plate for adults. First, divide the plate in half and fill one of them with vegetables. There are 2 types of vegetables: starchy, like potatoes, corn, peas, or plantains, and non-starchy, like zucchini, jicama, cucumbers, carrots, or salad. If you have diabetes, fill half your plate with non-starchy vegetables. Then fill 1/4 with whole grains or starches, like brown rice, corn, beans, or whole wheat pasta. In the other quarter, add some lean protein like tofu, grilled fish, or chicken. What about adding a side of tortilla or bread? It's hard to resist, I know! The trick is serve yourself a smaller portion of the other starches on your plate instead. To complete your meal, add a drink like unsweetened coffee, tea, or a glass of milk. But remember that drinking 8 ounces of milk affects your blood sugar just as it would if you ate another tortilla or a slice of bread. Or you can also choose water with a squeeze of lemon or lime. How you create your plate is up to you. You have many options, as long as you remember to follow these healthy guidelines. And ta-da! You're all set! You might be thinking, how can you use the plate method to make vegetable beef soup or other meals? Simply follow the same idea. Fill your pot with low-sodium broth and lots of healthy vegetables like corn, cabbage, zucchini, carrots, and onions. And some lean beef, but not too much. Just like you'd put on a quarter of your plate for each person you're serving. If you want, add your favorite type of bread on the side. And you've got the right amount for a healthy meal. Enjoy!
That's okay. We're gonna have a fun day today. Hi, I'm Andrea Ho.
And I'm Daphne Steinberg, and we're registered dietitians in the Schulich Heart Center at Sunnybrook Health Sciences Center.
Healthy eating is an important way to maintain heart health. Over the next few minutes, we'd like to share answers to some of the most commonly asked questions about heart-healthy eating.
I have high cholesterol. Should I stay away from high cholesterol foods like eggs and shellfish?
Cholesterol in your food actually has very little effect on your blood cholesterol. That's because your liver makes most of the cholesterol in your body. What matters the most is the amount and type of fat that you eat. The best way to lower your blood cholesterol is to choose foods that are lower in fat. Choose leaner cuts of meat, skinless poultry, and lower fat dairy products. And limit egg yolks, the yellow part of the egg, to no more than 3 per week. Shellfish, like shrimp and squid, are a low-fat alternative to eating meat and can be enjoyed once a week. Scallops, mussels, lobster, and crab are very low in cholesterol and can be enjoyed as often as you like.
There are a lot of different diets out there. Should I really be limiting my fat intake?
Fat has an awful lot of calories. Limiting your fat intake, as long as you're not replacing the calories with unhealthy calories, can be helpful for achieving and maintaining a healthy body weight. The type of fat you eat can also affect your cholesterol levels. Saturated fats and trans fats can raise your LDL cholesterol or your lousy cholesterol. Foods that have saturated fats typically come from animal sources, so meats and dairy products generally have the highest amounts of saturated fats. Make sure to choose lean cuts of meat and skinless poultry, and trim your meat of any visible fat. Enjoy low-fat dairy products like skim or 1% milk and 0% yogurt. Trans fat is primarily found in commercially processed foods. This type of fat is worse for your heart than saturated fat, so it's important to choose foods that are trans fat free. Before buying any commercially processed foods, check the packaging to make sure it doesn't have any trans fat in it. Look for phrases like trans fat free, zero trans fat, or no trans fat. Check the ingredient list. Make sure that shortening or partially hydrogenated oil are not listed as ingredients. If they are, pick a product that doesn't have these 2 ingredients listed. Avoid using hard margarine, which is high in trans fat. Instead, use a non-hydrogenated margarine, which is trans fat free and has very little saturated fat.
What's the best oil to cook with?
Cooking oils are a good source of healthy fat called unsaturated fat. The best oil to use in your cooking is olive oil and canola oil. Even though these are healthy oils, it's still important to limit the amount of oil that you use in your cooking. Make sure to use heart-healthy cooking methods that don't need a lot of oil. These include steaming, poaching, baking, roasting, and stir-frying. Avoid deep frying or pan frying. Even if you are using a heart-healthy oil, your food will absorb too much extra oil during the cooking process. When you're adding oil to your cooking, use an oil spray or measure out the oil that you'll be using.
I've heard a lot about omega-3 being good for my heart, but I'm not really sure what it is. Can you tell me more about it?
Omega-3 is a healthy fat that we need to get from food because our bodies can't make it. It's important to get it because it helps to raise our healthy cholesterol and make our blood vessels more elastic. The best sources are from fatty fish including salmon, tuna, trout, mackerel, herring, and sardines. You can choose fresh, frozen, or canned fish. When you choose canned fish, make sure it's packed in water instead of oil. You should try to eat these types of fish at least twice a week. If you don't eat fish, you can also get omega-3 from walnuts, ground flax seeds, chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, and wheat germ. You can enjoy these nuts and seeds every day, but make sure that they're unsalted and haven't been pre-roasted in oil.
I know fruits and vegetables are healthy. Should I be focusing on anything else?
Fruits and vegetables are packed with vitamins and minerals, and they're also a great source of fiber. Fiber helps to lower cholesterol and blood pressure, and it also helps to keep you feeling full for longer after meals, which is especially helpful for achieving and maintaining a healthy weight. And of course, fiber helps to keep your bowels regular. There are two kinds of fiber: soluble fiber, which helps to lower cholesterol and blood pressure, and insoluble fiber, which helps to keep your bowels regular. It's important to make sure that you get both kinds of fiber every day. Foods that are rich in soluble fiber include psyllium, oat products like oatmeal and oat bran, legumes, and certain fruits and vegetables like apples, pears, berries, citrus fruit, broccoli, cauliflower, and squash. Insoluble fiber is also known as roughage and can be found in whole grain breads, cereals, and pastas. Leafy vegetables like spinach and lettuce, and more colorful fruit and vegetables like melons and peppers. If you're not used to eating a lot of fiber, start slowly and make sure to drink plenty of water to help prevent stomach upset.
I don't have diabetes. Do I still need to watch my sugar intake?
Sugar can be found naturally in food, or it can be added to food. Sugar is found naturally in foods like fruit and milk products. These foods are healthy and should be enjoyed throughout the day. Added sugars include table sugar, honey, syrups, and food that contain added sugars such as sugar-sweetened beverages, desserts, and sweetened cereals. Eating large quantities of sugar can increase your weight and increase your risk of developing heart disease, even if you're not overweight. So, it's important to limit the amount of added sugars that you eat. Having an occasional treat is fine. Just remember that if you have a treat every day, it's no longer a treat, it's a habit.
I think I need to cut down on my salt intake. How do I do that?
Salt contains sodium, and eating too much sodium can increase your blood pressure. Sodium is found naturally in fresh foods, but more than 75% of the sodium that we eat comes from processed and packaged foods. To cut down your sodium intake, limit the amount of salt you eat by not adding any to your food at the table. When you're cooking, only add a pinch of salt. Instead of salt, try adding flavor with dried or fresh herbs such as basil, thyme, or rosemary, or try using a blend of herbs and spices. Choose fresh foods whenever possible and limit foods that have been processed, pickled, smoked, or salted. If you're using canned products, make sure to rinse.
The foods I eat are healthy, but I'm just not sure how much to eat. Can you tell me more about heart-healthy portion sizes?
Portion control is important for achieving and maintaining a healthy body weight. A simple way to do it is to follow the plate method. Fill up half of your plate with vegetables. A quarter of your plate should include lean protein like fish, legumes, skinless poultry, or lean meat. The last quarter of your plate should be high-fiber starchy foods like whole grain breads, brown or wild rice, multigrain pasta, potatoes with their skin still on, or corn. Then you can round off your meal with a glass of milk and some fruit for dessert. Not every meal will fit into the plate method. What do you do on pizza night? Yes, there can still be pizza night. Just apply the same ideas. Choose a pizza made with whole grain thin crust and topped with lots of veggies and some grilled chicken. Let that fill up half your plate. Then have a big salad with it and enjoy some fruit for a sweet finish.
What are some heart-healthy tips for eating out?
When you're eating out, choose dishes that have been prepared with heart-healthy cooking methods. These include dishes that are steamed, poached, broiled, grilled, stir-fried, or baked. Choose dishes with lean cuts of meat, skinless poultry, fish, or legumes. Choose dishes with higher fiber starch options such as whole wheat or multigrain pasta, brown or wild rice, and sandwiches made with whole grain breads. Ask to have your salad dressings and sauces on the side. Choose non-creamy dressings and sauces. And of course, don't forget the veggies.
We hope these tips will help you make heart-healthy eating part of your lifestyle and daily routine.
If you have any additional questions after watching this video, please don't hesitate to let a member of your healthcare team know that you'd like to speak with a registered dietitian. So what are you having for dinner tomorrow night?
I think I'm gonna make chicken.
Oh, that's nice. I think we're gonna make pizza.
From the minute we're born, we're aging. Constant exposure to our environment, the things we eat, and stresses from both inside and outside our bodies all cause us to age over time. Aging is highly complex, but scientists are starting to understand what happens at the cellular and molecular levels. For example, healthy cells are damaged over time when our immune systems shift from reacting to short-term problems like injuries and infections to gradually producing chronic inflammation throughout the body. Time also gradually shortens the telomeres that act as protective caps for our DNA-containing chromosomes. These and other changes make our bodies less and less able to deal with stresses from inside and outside of our body. So when damage reaches a critical level, our cells, tissues, and organs may no longer perform normally, and our health starts to decline. The changes associated with aging start to happen on some level at day 1. We begin to experience their effects early in life. For example, we lose the ability to hear certain high-frequency sounds as teenagers. Our cognition and memory slowly decline after they peak in our mid-20s. The strength of our bones starts to decrease in our 30s. Female fertility sharply declines after 35. Age-related nearsightedness begins in our mid-40s. And our hair starts to gray and thin as early as our 30s and 40s. After the age of 50, the changes of aging become increasingly noticeable. And because aging is the biggest risk factor for most of the diseases that affect us as adults, the older we get, the higher our risk of chronic disease becomes. While scientists have not yet found a way to stop these processes of aging, they are learning more and more about how to maintain health throughout our lives. Some aspects of aging are out of our control, like our genetics and our family history, but we can educate ourselves about moderate risk factors and do our best to reduce them through healthy lifestyle and diet choices. Most of us can be healthy and active well into our later years if we take care of ourselves. It's no surprise that regular physical activity can help maintain a healthy weight, improve moods and sleep habits, and boost overall health. And it's clear that a well-balanced diet full of nutritious foods is critical to good health. But when it comes to understanding which foods are the best choices, much nutrition research has focused on how certain foods or nutrients may have a negative effect on health or even play a role in disease development. More recently, scientists have begun to explore and understand how nutrition may play a role in promoting healthy aging throughout all of life's stages. We are rapidly learning about what foods and nutrients should be emphasized in our diets and how they can enhance our health. Diets full of fruits and veggies, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and lean meats have proven health benefits like lowering blood pressure, improving glucose control in diabetes, weight loss, improving arthritis, and reducing the risk of cancer and cardiovascular events, to name a few. And we are learning more about the specific nutrients that can impact health. For example, plant pigments found in bright orange and red fruits and vegetables may prevent and slow the progression of eye diseases. Calcium helps to keep bones strong. B vitamins play a role in maintaining brain health. And flavonoids from many plants may improve the health of our cardiovascular systems. The bottom line is that you have the power to maintain and improve your health, add vitality to your years, and reduce your risk of disease. And it's never too late to make a change. To learn more about the nutrients that are critical to your health and how to safely turn to supplements if you aren't getting enough of these nutrients in your diet, watch Healthy Aging with Nutrition at www.agingresearch.org/nutrition.
Hey there guys, I'm Morgan Radford and it's time to get healthy. Did you know that people in the Middle Ages actually used to eat moose nose and spoiled milk because they thought it was good for them? Well, lucky for you and for me, we know a lot more about nutrition now. You probably hear that word nutrition often, and it just means eating a diet that's healthy for you. If this comes to mind when you hear that, don't even go there, because it's not that bad. In fact, lots of healthy foods also taste pretty good. But do you know which foods make up a good diet?
I'm Dr. Ken Yamaguchi. I am the Sam and Marilyn Fox Distinguished Professor of Orthopedic Surgery at Washington University School of Medicine, and I am the Executive Vice President and Chief Medical Officer for Centene Corporation. A healthy diet is a diet that gives you the necessary calories to do all your activities, not more calories than you need, and it has a good representation of the 5 major food groups.
5 major food groups. Do you know what they are?
Fruits and vegetables, proteins, fats, and grains.
So you know what fruits and veggies are. Eat more vegetables than any other food group. As for grains, you can find whole grains in many cereals and breads. Now, can you name some healthy proteins? If you thought of eggs, fish, you're on the right track, but there are also a lot more, like other meats, nuts, and milk. All things your school cafeteria probably offers.
I'm Dr. Gloria Wilder. I am President and CEO of Core Health and Wellness Centers, and I'm also Vice President of Innovation and Preventive Health for Centene Corporation, and everybody calls me Dr. G. Most of the stuff you eat should either come from your school, if you're eating the school lunch program or the school breakfast program, or it should come from your parents, right?
You actually do need some fat. Just make sure it's healthy fat from foods like avocado, cheese, and those eggs again, yogurt, and even dark chocolate. But be careful with that one.
A healthy diet also means not eating too much of what's unhealthy, which means trying to avoid things that are very high calorie and have a lot of simple sugars and a lot of salt.
That means limit the amount of that dark chocolate, the sugar you sprinkle on foods, and even those sugary drinks like fruit juice or soda. And fast food, that should really just be a rare treat, if you eat it at all.
Just remember that you don't want to become a chicken nugget and French fry kid. If all you eat is chicken nuggets and French fries, you're going to grow up looking like a chicken nugget and a French fry.
That's right. Good nutrition not only makes you feel better, it makes you look better. Your skin and your hair, it'll glow from all those vitamins that make their way into your system.
When you eat something, you first break it down in your mouth with your teeth, and you kind of break it down into smaller and smaller pieces. So when it goes into your stomach, it's bathed in acid, which gets rid of any bacteria that would be bad. And then it goes into your intestines. And at that point, there's a lot of things called enzymes that are released that help break down all this food into the small building blocks.
Those building blocks are the vitamins and the nutrients you need to stay alive. Your blood takes them and delivers them to the areas of your body where they're needed. It's actually a pretty involved process every single time you take a bite. So what can happen to your body if you have poor nutrition?
Let's talk about junk, right? You put yourself at risk of getting diabetes, right, or being overweight and not being able to do the stuff you really want to do. You may feel like you lose energy really quickly.
So here are just a few things to remember. If you start eating a healthy diet now, you're setting up a good habit that you can follow throughout your life.
Who wouldn't rather have more energy, feel better about themselves, be in a better mood, and look better?
Mix it up. You don't have to eat the same old fruits and veggies every single day. You can be adventurous and try some of the other vegetables your school cafeteria offers. And also, don't overeat. When you're eating a meal or a snack, when you get about halfway through, ask yourself whether you need to eat that second half. Making these small changes to your diet will help you live a longer, healthier life.
In 1847, a physician by the name of Semmelweis advised that all physicians wash their hands before touching a pregnant woman in order to prevent childbed fever. His research showed that you could reduce the mortality rates from septicemia from 18% down to 2% simply through washing your hands with chlorinated lime. His medical colleagues refused to accept that they themselves were responsible for spreading infection. Semmelweis was ridiculed by his peers, dismissed, and the criticism and backlash broke him down, and he died in an asylum 2 weeks later from septicemia at the age of 47. What I am going to talk about today may sound as radical as hand washing sounded to a mid-19th century doctor, and yet it is equally scientific. It is the simple idea that optimizing nutrition is a safe and viable way to avoid, treat, or lessen mental illness. Nutrition matters. Poor nutrition is a significant and modifiable risk factor for the development of mental illness. According to the 2013 New Zealand Health Survey, the rates of psychiatric illnesses in children doubled over the last 5 years. Internationally, there's been a 3-fold increase in ADHD, a 20-fold increase in autism, and a 40-fold increase in bipolar disorder in children. And this graph here shows there's been a 4-fold increase in the rates of the number of people who are on disability as a direct consequence of an underlying psychiatric illness. The rates of mental illness are on the rise. So how are we dealing with this problem? Currently, our healthcare system operates within a medical model. Now, this means that you would typically be offered psychiatric medications first, followed by psychological therapies and other forms of support. Our reliance on medications as a frontline form of treatment is evident from the increasing rates of prescriptions. For example, in 2012, 500,000 New Zealanders, that's 1/8 of us, had been prescribed an antidepressant. That's 38% higher than 5 years previously. Similarly, the rates of prescriptions for antipsychotics doubled from 2006 to 2011. Given that this medical model is fairly universal across all Western societies, you would rightfully expect that it was working well. And indeed, in some cases, these treatments save lives. And I'm not here to dismiss it altogether. However, if a treatment is truly effective, then shouldn't the rates of disorder and disability as a direct consequence of that illness be decreasing rather than increasing? And that's why we need to consider the role that medications might be playing in some of these outcomes. If we take any class of medication, antipsychotics, anti-anxiety medications, antidepressants, the pattern is the same. In the short term, these treatments are often very effective, but in the long term, they aren't. And in some cases, they're making life worse. If we look at, for example, studies that have been done on ADHD children treated with stimulants or Ritalin, in the short term, they are better and better responders than any other form of treatment. But in the long term, they fare less well than children who were never prescribed these medications. Another study showed that despite our ever-increasing reliance on antidepressants, the recovery rates and relapse rates are no better now than they were 50 years ago prior to the advent of these medications. And children with depression who are treated with antidepressants are 3 times more likely to convert to bipolar disorder than children who were never given these medications. And people who are randomized to stay on their dose of antipsychotic medications are less likely to recover from schizophrenia in the long term than people who had been randomized to a dose reduction or complete elimination of the drug. And I can show you more and more studies all highlighting this same bleak picture. So, pretty depressing. Is there another way forward? Almost 2 decades ago, my PhD supervisor at the time, Professor Bonnie Kaplan, told me about some families who were treating themselves with nutrients in southern Alberta, Canada. Now, they had bipolar disorder, psychosis, depression. These are serious conditions, and my education in clinical psychology had taught me that nutrition and diet were of trivial significance for mental health, and that only drugs or psychotherapy could treat these serious conditions. But she and others were publishing preliminary data in the earlier part of the century showing people getting well and staying well. And so I decided to study the nutrients, and that's what I've done for the last decade. In 2009, I received some funding to run a randomized placebo-controlled trial using minerals and vitamins, also known collectively as micronutrients, for the treatment of ADHD in adults. And this study was published in the British Journal of Psychiatry in April of this year, and here's what we found. Within just an 8-week period, twice as many people responded in the micronutrient group compared to placebo. Twice as many people went into remission in their depression in the micronutrient group. Hyperactivity and impulsivity reduced into the normal non-clinical range. And those who were taking the micronutrients were more likely to report that their ADHD symptoms were less impairing and less interfering than in their work and social relationships than people who were on the placebo. And 1 year later, those people who stayed on the micronutrients maintained their changes or showed further improvement, and those who switched to medications or stopped the micronutrients actually showed a worsening of their symptoms. Now, I need to tell you something here, and that is when I say micronutrients, I'm actually referring to a dose higher than what you'd get out of a vitamin pill purchased in the supermarket. In this study, we gave participants up to 15 pills a day with 36 nutrients. So it would be unlikely that if you went and got an over-the-counter supplement, you would unlikely see these positive benefits, both because the dose is lower and the breadth of nutrients is lower. Now, these positive benefits are not confined to a single study. My lab at the University of Canterbury is the Mental Health and Nutrition Research Group, and we've published over 20 papers in medical journals, all documenting the benefits of micronutrients. For example, this study here showed that we could reduce the symptoms of bipolar disorder in children by 50% with a simultaneous reduction in medications. This study here showed that we could reduce rates of probable post-traumatic stress disorder from 65% down to 18% following the Christchurch earthquakes with a 1-month intervention of micronutrients with no change in those not taking the nutrients. Even 1 year later, those people who had received the nutrients were doing better than those who didn't. And we've just replicated these findings in collaboration with researchers at the University of Calgary following the floods of June 2013 in Alberta, Canada. To me, the message is clear that a well-nourished body and brain is better able to withstand ongoing stress and recover from illness. Giving micronutrients in appropriate doses can be an effective and inexpensive public health intervention to improve the mental health of a population following an environmental catastrophe. In my 20-year career, I have rarely seen these dramatic responses from conventional treatments. When people get well, they get well across the board, not only in the symptoms that we treated, but also in other areas like improved sleep, stabilization of mood, reduction in anxiety, and the reduction in need for cigarettes, cannabis, and alcohol. My research and those around the world have shown that 60 to 80% of people respond to micronutrients, showing just how powerful this intervention is. And internationally, there have now been 20 randomized placebo-controlled trials. This is the gold standard that we use to make clinical decisions, showing that we can reduce aggression in prisoners, slow cognitive decline in the elderly, treat depression, anxiety, stress, autism, and ADHD. And they might even be more cost-effective than current conventional treatments. This study here documented the treatment of a 10-year-old boy with psychosis. When his 6-month inpatient treatment with medications was unsuccessful, he was treated with micronutrients. Not only did the micronutrients completely eliminate his hallucinations and delusions, changes that were maintained 6 years later, but the cost of the treatment was less than 2% than the cost of the unsuccessful inpatient treatment. The cost savings alone make it imperative that our society pay attention to the wider benefits of this approach. And there is more good news. Supplementing before mental illness emerges can actually stop these problems from developing in the first place. This fantastic study looked at 81 adolescents at risk for psychosis and randomized them to receive either omega-3 fatty acids in the form of fish oils, essential nutrients for brain health, or placebo for a 12-week period. 1 year later, 5% of those who received the fish oil had converted to psychosis versus 28% of those on placebo. That represents an 80% reduction in the chances of you converting to psychosis simply through giving fish oils. I wonder if I know what some of you are thinking. I wonder if some of you are thinking, hold on, why don't I just eat better? Why don't I just tell everyone to eat better? And indeed, there are some fantastic studies that document the strong relationship between dietary patterns and mental health, although we're still in very early days of scientific investigation. We don't know who would benefit from dietary manipulation alone and who may need the additional boost from extra nutrients. But even in the last 5 years, there have been 11 epidemiological studies cross-sectionally and around and longitudinally in large populations around the world, all showing the same thing. The more you eat a prudent or Mediterranean or unprocessed type of diet, the lower your risk for depression. And the more you eat the Western diet or processed food, the higher your risk for depression. I know of only one study that has not found this association, and not a single study shows that the Western diet is good for our mental health. What is the Western diet? Well, it's one that is heavily processed, high in refined grains, sugary drinks, takeaways, and low in fresh produce. And the healthy diet is one that is fresh, high in fruits and vegetables, high in fish, nuts, healthy fats, and low in processed foods. What your grandmother would recognize as food. There are still many questions remaining about the relationship between mental health and nutrition. What role do genetics play in determining who's going to respond to nutrients and who needs additional nutrients than they can get out of their diet? What role does an infected, inflamed gut play in the absorption of nutrients? It's not we are what we eat, it's we are what we absorb. And what role do medications play in determining how effective the nutrients are? Combining medications and nutrients is actually complicated, and we need more research and better understanding these interactions. But ultimately, we need to know how long these good benefits last. So with all of this data, this rich data highlighting the power of nutrition, I think we can make some individual and collective changes now. We could reconsider our current treatment approach, prioritize lifestyle factors, healthy eating, exercise, supplements when necessary, psychological treatments, and save medications for when these approaches don't work. If nutrients work, then shouldn't